What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here with some more Madden NFL 20 news. So over the weekend, obviously most of you have been keeping up with the channel. You saw the new gameplay, we saw some new screenshots, saw limited gameplay, wanted to see more, but we did see some new plays in the game. We saw, how the animations were looking, the X Factor abilities and things like that. Now today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this Game Informer article because they put out a pretty lengthy article about their experience playing the game early, the good and the bad. We also, I put out my own video on that, judging from the clips that we had. Definitely some stuff that looked good, but also some stuff that looked bad, so we got to make sure to cover both, as some of these things might be make or break for certain people who are interested in the game. Now, if you are interested in Madden 20 news, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any of the Madden 20 news I will be dropping daily. Might even have some exclusive footage coming at some point, so stay tuned for that. And also, if you are interested in the Madden 20 beta that is happening at the end of this week, I did a video on this, everything you need to know about how to get a beta code. That will be linked below in the comments and in the description if you want to check that out if you're interested in getting the beta. But let's get into this article. So let's get it started. It says, the thing that all Madden fans want to know about Madden 20 is whether or not it feels better than last year. It does. I played several games at EA Play, and the word that comes to mind is smoother. What does that mean exactly? That's hard to specifically say without spending more time with the game, but it seems like players have a little more weight to their movements, and the transitions between some of the animations are better. Perhaps kinks in the RPM motion tech have been worked out. Whatever the changes, they're subtle, but they are there. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be bugs. I'm sure there will be. That also doesn't mean that the gameplay problems from previous years are all fixed. In my relatively short time with the title, I saw instances where catching and defending animations got jumbled up and passes weren't caught for inexplicable reasons. Gameplay is what we're going to experience the most when the title comes out, so I can only hope more progress is made on this front before release. Now, that's basically what I heard from everybody that played the game. That is spot on with everybody that I talked to. They said smoother is probably the best thing about what they experience. Everything feels more responsive, both offensively and defensively. The control of your player, the click on, it all feels very responsive and just way better than it has been for the last several years. That the Real Player Motion 2.0 is so much better than the previous Real Player Motion. But the other side of it, I heard as well, like the animations, especially like defenders defending the passes, defenders kind of on, I think, higher difficulties perhaps, defending like two routes at one time when it's situations where they felt like the receivers should have been able to be open, but the defender kind of like was a little bit more psychic and got to the ball and got like a weird jumping animation. I did definitely hear some of that, and I saw a couple of those even in the gameplay clips that were showed at EA Play, so that all sounds spot on to what we've already heard. Hopefully the negative side of that, they can kind of smooth that out, but judging off past Maddens, that's probably something we are going to still experience this year. Continuing on in the article, it says the other big topic for Madden 20 are the Superstar and X Factor abilities. Obviously, these will have to be correctly balanced in the final game, but honestly, it was hard to tell much about them in the time that I had with the game. The X Factors only trigger after you meet the criteria, like completing a certain amount of passes, and I didn't come into any situations where it felt like someone was getting a huge boost, which could be a good sign that at least they're not completely taking over the game at this point. Nevertheless, much more time is needed with the game to see what bears out, so I'm looking forward to reviewing the game as August 2nd release date nears. And then continuing on here, it says, here are some other random tidbits I gained in my hands-on time with the game, both competitive and simulation gameplay settings on all pro difficulty. It says, when playing on the defensive side of the ball, I noticed the shape of the pocket changing my sack opportunities. With smaller gaps inside and between the guard and tackle, in general, I had less success than usual trying to come inside against tackles on the perimeter. Another tidbit here says, I didn't notice much difference in the run blocking to either side. The running itself, as I alluded at the start, felt better. One thing I could not get used to while playing was the timing arc speed of the deep ball. Using different caliber of QBs, it simply felt like the deep ball took too long to drop, causing several instances both when I was throwing the ball as well as my human opponents where the defensive back could get good position and pick the ball off. I know Madden 20 has new pass trajectories, so perhaps this is something that's still being tweaked. The run pass options, or RPOs, require quick decision making. Make reads before you snap the ball because you'll only have a split second to decide whether you want to hand the ball off or throw it. If you miss the window, the QB will default to a run or pass depending on the play. However, for some RPOs, if you hold the ball before passing, you'll get an illegal man downfield penalty. Overall, I liked running RPOs, and I'm sure some practice will be needed, in order to kind of get better at that. The new pump fake controls, double tapping the receiver's icon, feels really good and smooth. I'm definitely going to be doing that more this year. And then lastly, it says, while in the pocket, QBs can also pull the ball down by tapping the left trigger. From here, he can perform ball carry moves like spins and jukes. The mileage on this action is going to vary by QB and player, as it takes a cool customer to dance around the pocket without getting yourself into worse trouble. But the high-end users are probably going to feast on this. So, of these tidbits he talked about, again, these are things that I heard from other people as well. Not every single one, because he definitely touched on some more things. So, number one, talking about the pocket when he's on the defensive side of the ball, how he noticed he kind of had less success than usual trying to come inside against tackles on the perimeter. Kind of sounds like he was doing some usering on the D-line there, which usually isn't optimal for playing Madden at a higher level. You usually want to use a linebacker, but I think the pass rush this year, from what they said, you're going to see way more pass rush from the defensive ends, like from the outside, not necessarily from the inside. You're going to get more push up the middle is what I've heard, but you're probably still going to see way more pass rush on the outside. That's just what I've heard. Now, the next thing he said that really caught my attention was the deep ball, saying the timing and the arc and the speed of the ball. That is going to be a huge adjustment this year, and before even playing the game, just hearing when they said that they tune trajectories and the velocity of the ball is slower by default, because if you're putting more arc on the ball, the velocity has to slow down a little bit. I knew immediately that that was going to change passing. Obviously, that's a huge change to passing, and that is going to take time to get used to, because the past few years of Madden, we're just used to terrible ball trajectory, the ball coming out honestly too fast, and now you're going to have to relearn how to pass the ball, because the deep ball is completely changing now. The timing and everything is going to be, I would say, at least a little bit more realistic to real life because of the ball slowing down and getting more air under that ball. So if you're trying to throw deep balls like you did in years past, you're going to wind up in situations where you're throwing up ducks for easy picks, which is fine. I actually like that, because that's going to add a skill gap to the passing. I also heard other people say that they found it hard to get the ball to open receivers quickly because of the velocity on the ball slowing down. But again, if you're adding true pass trajectories to the ball, you have to slow it down, because if you're putting more air under the ball, it's going to travel slower than how it was in Madden. Every ball in Madden the past few years was literally like a line drive fastball. So it's going to definitely take some time into learning the new passing mechanics, also adding the pump fake with that and the behind the line scrambling. Like, the whole passing game sounds like it's revamped. They've given you more tools as a passer by being able to pull those icons down and have those running back moves behind the line of scrimmage, but also pulling the icons back up when you're ready to pass. They've added the pump fake, which is going to add another layer of faking out defenders, especially defenders who have poor coverage or poor awareness. And then the arc on the ball and the timing of the passes is going to have to be completely relearned. So that is something that I welcome. I think that's a good change for the game, but that's definitely going to be a learning curve to that. Now, to finish up the article here, he says, after playing the game, what I'm most excited about, even though I didn't have a full impression of them yet, is probably the Superstar and X-Factor abilities and the scenario engine. The abilities in particular can do a great job of bringing out the best of what the NFL has to offer and enabling some satisfying, dramatic games that pay off through being able to utilize and execute with the best players on your roster. Or they could be an unbalanced mess that the developer, EA, has to chase their tail after launch. And that is completely true. Couldn't agree more with that. The X-Factor abilities for me are going to go one of two ways. They're either going to be an amazing addition to the game that is going to make the players unique, or it's going to be something that is going to be completely broken. Now, in terms of how it could be completely broken, well, we saw some clips from EA Play where it looked like on certain plays where Mahomes had his abilities active, that it looked like the defense was being held back in order for his ability to carry through. Now, was that done purposely in the footage? Was it set to a low difficulty and, rendered purposely in order to show off the abilities? That could be the case, because if you're showing off the abilities, you're going to kind of put it in a favorable position for the abilities to work. But again, you still don't like seeing that, because if you're playing on All Pro or All Madden and you're in the real game, and that that has a chance to happen, because we've seen it happen with older games. So that's definitely a concern. I think overall, I'm optimistic for the abilities. I like the fact that they're based off the real life players, because some people are saying like, oh, these are superpowers, but that's not what they are at all. The abilities the players have are realistic to what they have done in real life. every single one of them. You can go watch film of these players doing these things in real life. What Madden has done is they have given these players a way to perform them the exact same way in games. Some of them are a little overpowered, but that's because some of these players are overpowered in real life, right? Julio Jones is an overpowered player in real life. I mean, have you seen some of the catches he makes? So he should be able to do that in Madden if he can get himself in the zone. He should be able to pull some of these off sometimes. I think that's fine. These players are not doing something. It'd be different if Julian Edelman was given an ability where he could go up over a defender and jump in the air and completely just aggressive catch and like make a Randy Moss level catch over a defender. He doesn't do that in real life. But if you're giving that ability to somebody like Juju Smith-Schuster, who we have seen time and time again do that in real life. Time and time again last year, we have seen him go up over defenders and completely moss guys. He did it to Jalen Ramsey, AJ Bouye. We've seen him do it to multiple guys. I'm fine with him being able to do that in the game if he reaches a certain level of criteria to unlock that ability. And then also the balance on the other side is saying, hey, if you double cover him, he likely won't come down with this catch. I'm fine with that, because you know what you have to do to eliminate him from getting into the zone. You know what you have to do to eliminate him from getting that ability or from him carrying through the ability. So again, if all of it plays out that way, great for the game. But if they are holding players back in order for these abilities to trigger, that will be bad for the game. So we have to wait and see. But overall, I mean, like I said, there's good and bad that we've heard about the game so far. It's still very early. People who are talking about the game have had limited time with it, so it's an extremely small sample size, and you have to take that with a grain of salt. Once you play the game for like 50 hours, you're going to know much more about how it truly plays. You know, if you've only played it for 10 hours, you know, it might seem better than it is. So we have to really wait and see. Hopefully, a lot of you can get your hands on the beta. Again, if you want to know how to do that, link is below in the description and the comments. That's going to be it today. I hope you enjoyed this video, found it helpful. If you did, as always, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.